Hello, good evening, and yet again, welcome to the Open Mic Hour. And what a pleasure we've got tonight. I've actually got a very special guest tonight of the lovely Kaz Kelsall. And I think we're in for a real treat tonight. So I'm going to bring her on to the screen now and let her introduce herself.
Hi, my name's Kaz Kelsall, and I'm a psychic medium.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome. And as again, it's obviously I always say it's a lockdown special, basically. But obviously, hopefully, we'll be coming out of them situations and moving forwards. So, as you're better known as Karen, but you're better known as Kaz, aren't you?
Yes.
So
yes.
Is that all right with Kaz?
Yeah. Kaz is better.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
And lovely energy around you, I must say as well. So I know as you clicked on then, would you like to introduce yourself to our lovely viewers and tell us a little bit more about yourself? And it's your hour basically. So where would you like to start?
I've been seeing spirits since I was 4 years old. I see spirits, I talk to them. I had a near-death experience at 14. And when I came back, I was more aware of them. I deal with the people who have been passed on, naturally, but I also deal with people who are missing, and sorry to say, murder cases too.
Yeah, and as we're going to touch on a few certain cases and things that you've picked up on over the years, and as you dealt with, I know obviously the hour that we talk about now is with the utmost respect for people, the friends, the family, and everybody around that, because it's not about the medium side of it. It's about helping people to get resolved and get closure with certain situations as well. And that's why, as mediums, we help in certain situations as well, like sensitive touch case issues and topics and missing people as well. So. Yeah. Again, obviously, you said there that you've been working since you was 4 years old, Kaz, and your first experience came across. You virtually seen a spiritual man as a youngster, didn't you? Do you want to touch on that and run through a few things? And
yeah, when I was 4, I was living with my grandparents till about the age of 5. And when I was about 4 years old, I went into the hall and I saw a man on the stairs. And I was telling my nan, and I said, "There's a man on the stairs," but she wouldn't have it. And he was like a silhouette form, but he was pretty good, chunky bloke. So he was the first one I saw. But in her house, there was a lot of negative energy, and there was a lot of poltergeist activity in there as well, where lots of things used to fly across the rooms and doors used to open. And it was a bit of a hairy place, but being 3 and 4 years old, I thought it was normal. But the man on the stairs, yes, I used to see him a lot. So there was 2 of them. There was the one on the stairs. I think he was the one who's trying to keep the other energy at bay. And being 4 years old, very frightened, I used to go up the stairs and literally walk with my back against the wall towards my bedroom because the energy was there. It was not a nice energy at all. So, yeah, we think the man who was protecting us in the house was a man whose daughter killed herself, hung herself, because the story was he had 2 daughters, and the one daughter was promised to this chap in the First World War, 1914 to 1918. He came back from the war and he packed her in, and he married her sister, and she hung herself.
Oh. Very,
well, the energy was bad in the house, and the furniture came with them as well. So it was the furniture as well.
And then obviously, as we'll touch on and moving forward to what you've done and helped over the last few years and all that as well. So we are leading up to that as well. And you obviously have experience of like poltergeist activity around certain situations being thrown and all the build-ups. You've experienced quite a lot, hasn't you, Kaz, along the way as well?
Yeah. I have, Gary, very much so. Yeah.
Could you tell us what did you actually touch on with anything that was very active with things being thrown as well? How did you deal with that and overcome that?
Well, I went back to my parents when I was about 5. So it didn't happen anymore. But when I did go back to my grandparents, it happened a lot still. There's nothing I could do about that house. In fact, I went back to the house some years ago when my grandparents died, and I went to the house and I was a bit naughty. I went to the back of the garden just to see how the house is doing. And the man who lives there rightly told me off. And he said, you know, what you're doing here and all this. And I said, well, I used to live here. I didn't tell him anything because I didn't want to scare him. And he said, do you want to buy a house? Well, bearing in mind I'm in Yorkshire and this is Birmingham. So I said, well, no, not really. No, what house are you talking about? He said, this house. He said, I bought it about 2 years ago. My wife moved in one day and she couldn't move. She had to get out quick. And for every time someone goes into that house, they have to sell it because no one can live in that house. So the energy is still there and they can't get rid of it. But I have dealt with poltergeist activity. I've had phone calls when I'm here saying, please come to my house. Things are flying around. I've been to people's houses in this area about poltergeist activity, and I did move the person on.
And also what I was touching on as well is where from your early learning days to where you are now, and as we never stop learning, when we are a youngster and you're saying things out to people and letting them know information, we're classed as weird, aren't we? So we retain and hold back on things there, and it's not nice to be labelled sometimes. So I think around any young people, we need to help and encourage them to speak out and get in touch with us. And this is what we're trying to do, isn't it? We're trying to open our arms and say, we're not weird. We've just got a different way that we work. And, you know, we are just the same, but we just got a little difference intuition of what we're working with as well. So how did you find it when you got branded as, like, as they say, the people call us weird? How was that as a youngster?
When I went, my nan was a medium, so she used to talk to them, you know, put the things back that went missing, stop doing this, everything. But when I went back to my parents, it wasn't talked about, like you just said. It wasn't talked about. You were the weird kid, you know, and it didn't exist. And I think that was a shame because you're born with this, you know. So children more so are more open. So if you've been told that it doesn't exist or we don't talk about it in this house, you tend to keep it in and you don't say anything. And I think that's a shame. And I feel for any children going through that. And I, like you just said, I feel that you, everyone, should help young children to a way of doing. There's a way of saying stuff where this is normal to us. We're a bit different, but it's all good, you know.
Right, and I know you've been doing some homework today, Kaz. Would you like to give us some of your information of your experiences then with this very sensitive nature of what we're going to talk about? And obviously we will retain certain names and possibly places so it doesn't over-identify certain subjects around what we're talking about. So I've covered missing people and you have covered cases there. Would you like to give us some more insight into that? Because I know everyone's intrigued to get to this, and if I have to touch back later on a few of my bullet points, I will do. So again, I think we're all just inquisitiveness of how that came about.
Right. Okay. Well, I think as I saw people when I was a child, and there was one lad, but it wasn't a murder, it was an accident when he died. And he turned up when I was about 10 years old. My sister couldn't see him because we're in the same bedroom. So he gave me a message to give to his mum, and that was a bit awkward because I thought, how am I going to tell her? But the real experience with working spirit who missing people was roughly, I have to be careful. I have to be careful how I word this because some people might remember this. The person that went missing in 1986, and she went missing down south. Is that as vague as I can be? And
it's your hour.
Yeah, the initial S, that gives a clue to somebody, probably for looking it up on Wikipedia. It's well known. It's well-known cases, some of these are. And when she went missing, it was a big thing in the news, big thing. And I wasn't, I didn't pick too much up at the time, but later on I did. I saw the man, I saw in a vision in my head, like a dream, but it's wide awake. It's like a film. And I saw what he looked like, what he did. But I also saw where he took her. Now, no one's found her. not even now. But I feel strongly. I think I know where. I think I know roughly where it is. Roughly.
Yeah.
Now, the last few years, the police have gone to a said place that I think I saw, but they couldn't find her. Now, the guy got done for murdering somebody else in Bristol. I can say that. And his initials are JC. And he won't admit it was him, but it was him. And when he got arrested for the other lady, I rang the police up. I said, it's him. He's the one who took this girl from London. I have to say London. He took her and he killed her. He took her to the barracks, and it is the barracks. People are saying it wasn't, but it was. I saw it. I'm from Birmingham. I didn't know where it was. I saw it.
Yeah.
So they're trying to find her body still. So I rang them up again and chased them again and again to say, look, you need to go to said place, Old Army Barracks. You may find her there, not as in whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's my first one. If that's as vague as I can go, I don't know, because it's still looked at. Do you know what I mean? He's still in prison and they're still firing at him to say, you did this. You know what I mean?
And also what you'll find, Kaz, over the time and the years moving forward, say that said person is due for release, then if he gets released, then they can rearrest him, obviously coming through the gates, and then take up on that topic and subject of what you've covered, of what you've seen, just on that information alone. So again, it doesn't mean it's closed. It doesn't mean it's not finished with as well, because they can just reopen that at any specific point, can't they? Especially with today's like DNA and stuff like that as well. Yeah,
very much so. I know the next person I came across, and similar to what you just said, it was in 2001. I lived in Wales then, and this poor girl, she was a schoolgirl, and she went missing southeast of the country. Okay. Now, this is very bad, so to speak. What it was, I actually saw it like a dream, and it sounds mad, but I saw it as a dream, and I saw everything. I saw him. I saw what he was wearing, his van, everything, what he does. I also saw what he did. I also saw roughly where he's put her. And I saw some really weird things, that trophies he kept. So anyway, I thought it was a bit of a weird dream and left it at that. And then a few days later, I was looking at the paper and she was missing. The picture was there in the paper. And I went, oh my dear, that's her. That's the girl I saw a few nights ago.
How would you define for people watching the trophies? Is that like his own trophies or collectible items that was in and around what he was doing?
Both. He took them for his own gratification. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So something he could look at and feel, get a hit off it. You know what I mean by that? So that's what he did. Yeah, he did. I saw where he put them as well.
Right.
So that's even weirder. So when she in theory, she wasn't in the paper missing or anything. And then a few days later, she was in the paper saying that this schoolgirl was missing. And I was like, oh my God, that's her. That's the girl I saw. So I rang up the police down that area, considering I'm from Wales. And the policeman called me all the names of the son. He really, really did. And to a point, I can understand some things. And he put the phone down on me. So I was like, well, that's no good to me. It's no good to her. So I left it a few days. And then I tried again, being a bit persistent. And I rang the policewoman up and I said, I just told her what I got. I didn't so much it was a dream. I just saw it. That's all I'll say. And I went into some detail. And I said, I don't give a damn what you think of me. Just write all this down and just listen to me, please. I don't care what you think of me. If you think I'm a whatever, that's up to you. So she wrote it all down. And then about 2 or 3 days later, it was on the news that they nabbed him. They actually got the bloke. He was related to her. But I knew that anyway. I knew he liked young girls. I have to say that. And that's a true fact. That's not me being plagiarism. He really was into young girls. And he got arrested and he's in prison. He's in prison now. But like you just said, sooner or later, he's going to come out. He's not told them where she is. He refuses to tell them where she is. So again, that's another thing that where I'm trying to look into where she is. There's two big areas she could be in, and she's showing me. And over the years, she's actually come, like you're medium. She comes to me and tells me things. She showed me things in the bedroom I just wouldn't know, and certain things. But she has shown me a hell of a lot. And then, funny enough, last night, not even thinking about it, believe it or not. And last night she came again last night, and I thought, yeah, I'm not forgotten you. So yes, I'm busting the gut with this bloody COVID thing. I want to go down there. I know where to go on my own, and I'll turn up and I'll have a look myself because the police aren't listening.
Well, even after the first topic he was talking about and situation he was explaining, I just got emotions I felt like I just wanted to cry instantly. So obviously I'm not seeing the person he was talking about on the first case there, but can feel the emotions and the mannerisms. So again, you do find that the spirit energies of these people that's been on the wrongdoings as well, when they come to you. My Reiki master had for 10 years a child crying, and obviously she had to shut it off. And then one night she collectively called me, and we had to go to this open church, and the crying was of a youngster that had just been left in an open on the doorstep and abandoned. That was, but it took us 10 years to work out what had gone on. But that again is part of your learning path as well. Yeah. So again, sometimes when you can hear these voices as well, it's to help you experience this type of scenario and situation, isn't it, as well? Because sometimes, don't get me wrong, some things can be really graphic and horrific, and it can play a lot of mental state. As a medium, you've got to be positive mental attitude all the time with things and not let things overpower you. If you had certain scenarios where you felt it's been too emotions, I always find as a medium, I take the emotions out of it.
Yeah, that's hard though as a human being, because it could have been your child, your family member. So you have to keep, as you rightly said, you have to keep yourself in check. It's no good you blubbering your eyes out and they're going through holy hell. You know what I mean? You have to pull yourself up a bit, and be respectful. So yeah, but like you said just, I mean, for years I'm not going to mind my own business, and like you, I'd hear people's voice and I'm going, someone saying help me and stuff like that, and you need more information. You say, well, just tell me something about you, what's your name, something. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, they do come forward, don't they, a lot, and you try and help them as best you can. Yeah, definitely. I came across one in this area again, but this time, this is one where, like you say, you have to be careful what you say. I did a reading with this family, and I didn't have a clue. I just truly didn't have a clue what they're about. And this young lady came through, who was their daughter. She came through, and they were saying they thought that she took her own life, okay? And they struggled with that thought because that wasn't her. And apparently, no, she didn't. It was an accident, but yes, somebody else did it. So I had to break it to them. I'm sorry. It wasn't a suicide. I mean, it was shocking to be in that house. And I'm just so sorry for them. So I explained to them what she was telling me, and she was showing me what happened. She fell from a building and out the window and, whatever. And they said she wouldn't have done that. And she didn't. She didn't. Someone else did it. So anyway, told her this. And I got told to tell the police. And I said, well, I'll give it a go, but you do know that they don't believe you, but I will give it a go. It's your daughter. So, because they wouldn't do it. Yeah. I asked them to do it, but at the end of the day, it's my evidence, which isn't, as you say, doesn't stand in court. So I rang up the police. They didn't want to know. Yeah. So I said, well, then said, ring Crime Stoppers. So I rang them. I don't know what else to do. So I did all that. And then not long, it was only like a couple of weeks later, I had a phone call from the family. And they said they've got the girl who did it. And, basically she's struggling with it, but it was an accident. And I said, well, it was an accident. But, so yeah, sometimes you get information which even the families don't know about, that they think it was one way and it wasn't, it was the other way, So
and you have it's so hard to express that on a certain scenario. I have people that come for readings, and it's like you know, sometimes I can have a male sat in front of me, and it's just like I know more about you than what you realise, and I can't say certain things. Do you know what I mean? And it gets so hard sometimes where I've had a gentleman come back up to me after a reading, and he's actually said, "You know, don't you?" And I said, "Yes." So obviously at that point, he was obviously pushing for darker energies, to work with darker energies and all that. And I just basically said, you go down the path that you feel right, work with the light or work with the other energy. It's entirely to what you're drawn to. It's not for me to make my thought on you or whatever. I don't count. It's up to you with the path that you go down. And sometimes it's nice to get an acknowledgement that somebody knows what you're thinking with the connection. Person that sat in front of you as well, and people don't realize that. You know, I've got people that won't sit in the same room because they think you're reading them all the time, and you're not. You're actually just a normal person living your life. Do you know what I mean? But when you're given a link and a connection or a vision or a cine film, do you get any of the cine film, Kaz? Do you get the snippets or the reruns of actually what's gone through a scenario or a situation around any of the cases, the missing people, or anybody that's had wrongdoing to them?
Yes, I get it like a film. It is like a cine film. It is like that, and you just see the full run of it. You just take everything in, and you have to. But yeah, that's how I see it. Depending on what it is, if it's a person who's in front of me and all that, and I don't delve into people like you just said. Sometimes though, someone could walk past me and I'll see something, but like a snapshot. That's quick, whatever. But a lot of the time, no, it's like a film. It is just literally like a film. That's the only way I can describe it. And it's in colour. Yeah, I know, you hear anything, you know.
I know things aren't about me tonight, and it's I'm only trying to express my experiences of what I received in development and moving forwards. And I would feel that you've had certain scenarios of you could be sitting and the news is on in the corner and somebody's gone missing, and then all of a sudden you're given information. And a young girl went missing, and then all I got was the police will find bones in the fireplace. And then about 3 or 4 years later, that was the scenario. I didn't get the person's name. And then that comes around, and about 4 or 5 years later, it's like, oh, wow. It's just like, I just can't believe you just left dumbstruck sometimes. We've had scenarios with that as well. And it's just like, you know, because I'm not a big news person. I don't really sit and watch the news, but if someone's gone missing, and you hear or see something as well, it's just like, oh, please no, please no.
Yeah, it's, I mean, sometimes like the other, I saw them when I wasn't ready for it, or when he said a name then. But the second lady, the girl, I didn't know anything about it, you know, and he said her name, and God, no. But the one that got me, they all get me, of course they do. The one I did a couple of years ago, it really got me. I was on holiday in Scotland. I didn't know anything about her at all. I didn't know she went missing, in other words. And it wasn't a big gap, though. And it was like 2 weeks I came back, and it was all in the news about this poor girl whose initial is L. And but she was more my side of the country, but not next to me. So I still didn't know that area of the county. And she went missing, went for a drink, got drunk. And I mean that being the most respectful way. And she thought the guy was a taxi, and he wasn't. Oh God, I'm going cold now just thinking about it. And I saw that, but that wasn't at the time. It was like 2 weeks later, you know. So I went to find out where she went missing and all that, where the last place was, because it was always on the news up here. And I was looking at Google Maps. This was a weird one. I was looking at Google Maps, and I was looking at this bottom end of the screen thinking, oh, that's where she was last. All of a sudden, my eyes shot across, like it wasn't me, shot across the screen on these Google Maps, and I saw a place. You know, and I know, that wasn't me, that was them. And it shot across, and I thought, oh my God, what's that? Saw the area, took note of it. So I rang the police like you do, don't believe you. But these actually did. These are the only, I can't say where it is, but these are actually okay with you. So they gave me a case number, and I said, she's in the water. She is in the water. I'm telling you straight. They wouldn't have it. So anyway, I described him, his car, everything, and the area. And I think it's like a week or two later, I didn't hear anything on the news. And I'm thinking, bloody hell, I thought you'd get her by, not being funny, I thought you'd find her by now. No. Yeah. So I rang him again, gave me another case number, and I wasn't getting anywhere. After a week again, they they didn't find her. I'm not saying they didn't look, by the way. They just didn't find her. The frogmen were down there looking the lakes and all this. So I thought, sod this. I'm going to go there, my bum. I'm going to go down there and physically look and see what she does. So I went down to the said area where they were looking, and that's where she was last put. And I said, she's not here, look. I said to this frogman, police frogman, she's not here. She's in the water, but she's not here. She's moved on, right? So I went through this area. I hadn't a clue where I was going. And all of a sudden, someone held my hand. Spiritually, I felt they held my hand. And I've been pulled alongst the riverbank. Right now, people believe they believe. But I got pulled along this riverbank, and I'm thinking, this is the first time someone's ever done this to me. And I went up this riverbank, and I went so far, and I couldn't go anywhere. There was like a bridge built there, so I couldn't pass. I couldn't get through there. So I said, I'm sorry, darling. I know it's you. I know you're trying to show me where you really are. Give me a chance. So I came up to the main road, and it's a big city. So I carried on walking down the city, and I thought, I can't get there by foot. I don't drive. So I said, look, all right, love, leave it with me. I'll go back home and tell the police again. But when I was on the train coming home from said area, I was all right until we went over between two train stations. I didn't know the area at all. And we went over this place, and it was like a bridge. And, oh, my God, it was awful feeling. And my stomach just flipped over, and it's just sheer blanket of emotion. And I said, she's here. This is where she is. So I got home, and I tried to find out where it was on Google Maps. And I had to go. I dread this now, but I had to go out the next day in the morning. And I thought, when I go back home, I'll ring the police again. I'll really rattle their cage. And it was like not long after that, it came up on the news that they found her. She was in the water where that bridge was. She was in the, and she'd been there 6 weeks. 6 weeks gone. But she did start at the place where he dumped her, but then she moved on. Flow of water. That upset me a lot, that one did, especially of late. But even if you're not there at the time, it happens, and you still get it. Like you still got it.
Well, I also experience as well that things can come out the blue when you're least expecting it as well, Kaz. You could be sat in an old establishment or walking through a certain city or town of like a Tudor town and stuff like that, and you'll get the mannerisms and the emotions of somebody, how they've been struck, or they've been stabbed in the neck, or they've been hit there, or fell over a wall. And it's like, and then 2 or 3 days later, spiritually, they'll come to you and go, excuse me, mister, that was me the other day when you walked in Chester around the walls or something like that, and it's like, you've got to put the links together as well sometimes. Again, sometimes you've got to slow down as well, haven't you? And analyse stuff without analysing it as well. Yes,
because your logic mind kicks in and you're thinking, oh, is it me or am I imagining this? No, you are not. When they come through, they let you know this is what it is, and you have to accept that. But it is like a jigsaw puzzle. It is a bit like you have to be Sherlock Holmes. You have to work things out, and what does this mean and what does that mean? But yeah, it is a bit like that. But after a while, I'd like to think that we get it right, you know what I mean? But yeah, definitely. I think that. I mean, the one that was an old one, and I still don't know too much of it, was I went on the Ripper tour a few years ago. So when he died, when did he do was it 1888 or something like that in London? And I was on the Ripper tour, and I'm my own business with my other half, and like you, clairaudient, and the man was just talking away, and we got to the bit where it was the Mitre Square. There's 2 in Mitre Square, right? Bless him. And he mentioned about Elizabeth Stride first, because he did what he did to her, but they say he got disturbed. But when he got to Catherine Eddowes, he started talking about her. Now, I was just listening, mind my own business. And oh God, all of a sudden he turned around and he mentioned about the writing on the road down the road saying about the Jews, they're something or other, something not very nice about the Jews. There was a said statement on the wall. And as soon as he said that about the Jews and they think he was a Jew, this woman, which was her, shouted down my ear in 2 accents. And I thought they were all Cockneys. So this lady went, "They ain't no Jew. No, he ain't no Jew." And I went, what the hell was that? Really, is it me or what? No one else was just everyone was looking at the bloke. And I'm like, good God, that was really loud. And I thought, hang on, she's got a Cockney accent, but she's got another accent. And I'm a Midlander. I'm a Birmingham person. And I thought, that sounds like a Midland accent, that does. And it's a twang of it as well as the Cockney. So I thought that was a bit random, but yeah, okay, love, I know you're here. So they all walked off, and I hung around and started talking to her. And sure enough, she was there, and her essence is still there in Mitre Square. Catherine Eddowes is definitely there. So I got home, looked up on the old internet like you do, as in proof afterwards and not before. And sure enough, I think she was born in Wolverhampton. So she was a Midlander, and then she moved down into London when she was a certain age. I thought they were all Cockneys, you see, so that threw me a bit with the old accent, the two accents. So that was proof for me anyway, because I didn't know.
Well, that's a twang with the younger age accent coming through and a blend with the Cockney accent as well. And do tell me more about these stories as well. Also, as well with the cases, I think what's not highlighted as much is where somebody will give information about missing people and stuff like that. And when it's resolved and they find the person, and then it's fine. They don't matter about the medium and the link or the connection that's put them in a direction as well. But again, we're not after praise or anything like that. Again, we're just there to help, aren't we? We're helpers.
Yeah. We're helping the police. We're helping the person who's had the deed done to them. We're helping them as well. It's not about us. We're just the middle piece, and it's helping the families, giving them. The word closure doesn't really cut it, but it's helping them, with the girl still missing, and of course the first one. But the girl definitely, I know the parents have put a little memorial where a school was, but that's here or there. They want her back. And it's in the paper often. They come in the paper and they said they want her back. So I'm determined as best I can to get as much as I can from her to find it if I can. You know what I mean? But it's nothing to do with us. We're just the middle bit. That's all it's about. It's no, just, okay, great, done my job. You know what I mean? That's what I think anyway.
So as again, when we're hearing this type of scenario or news and all that, it's not a doom and gloom factor with everything. We do have sides where we do hear the good news and the good resolves as well. Have you had a situation where somebody's been found and they've been okay?
Good question. Yes, funny enough, only once, I'm afraid. I'm on the other side of it where it's always something's happened to someone. But yes, only once I have had that, and that was in Birmingham many years ago. And it was a child that went missing. And everyone thought the worst, but no, they actually found her up the road, funny enough. Like, it was only a few hours later, but even still, it was nighttime. We're all looking for her, and she was found in a shed a fair few roads away. So that's one thing. And I did say to people, they're ringing the police was out, and I said, I think she's where she's close by. So we all started walking around the estate, and then I went across and I said, I think she's over there, because you feel it. You feel your heart races. You get the feeling when they're close, and if they're alive, you just know, and you feel it in your head, when they're close. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's one.
When you're working like that, Kaz, as well, is it your guide that's giving you that intuition and nudging in the right direction on that scenario? Do you feel it's your guide that's walking you down that road or alleyway or path or street?
I have to give it as my guide, definitely, because they're the ones who help us, definitely. And we only know it's guide when we're older, but when we're children, it's us. But yeah, it's when it comes to stuff like that, it's your guide, definitely. Yeah, and they tell you things as well. And also they bring them in. I mean, if they're standing next to you sometimes and you watch them and you go, and it's like they help them to come over and talk to you and bring you into here. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it is the guides that help us, and they give us the information in the ear, and you get you're going to turn left, and then you get this thing of no, turn right, and you're like, oh, okay, then it's not you, because you've been told to go elsewhere and look. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you have got free will. But, more often than not, it is them telling you what to do in a nice way for your benefit. You know what I mean?
I know over the years, we've progressed. And as I mentioned and touched on earlier, a lot of things are going back and touching back on with the DNA, which came out around the 1980s. So there's a lot of cases that's going back to the 1980s being brought back forwards as well. And I was always shocked as a young kid about, I'd say about 18, 19, of something had happened to a certain specific person in my town of Ellesmere Port, and the police were going around with the old photo fits, the faces and all that. And I actually worked with the person that was involved with this situation, and you would not know it from a photo fit. So to me, all them years that a lot of police have been working with the photo fits, to me, they were just not like the specific person as well. Sometimes you see the actual person that's done it without knowing what the case was.
I've had that where I know they've done something, but I don't know what it is. It's like, yeah, definitely. I've had that before where that's a bit weird. That's where you really do have to be patient and sit back and thinking something's got to come for this, because what's this about? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, very much so, very much so. But I do get to see. Sometimes it's been a bit graphic. Some things you can't get out your head. Things happen, and you have to put it at the back of your head and think, okay, you know what I mean. But yeah, sometimes I do get that. Yeah, very much so. I mean, sometimes I can pick up on some people, sometimes I can, not always, clearly, but some people I do, and you go, something not right here. Do you know what I mean? You feel it. You just feel it in your bones.
Yeah. Do certain police or counties get back in touch with you and fill you where you're up to with what the information you've given? Do they give you the feedback on anything else as well, to where they're up to as well? Do you have certain police people that that would contact you out the blue?
No, I actually haven't had that privilege. I ring them, I get case numbers, but I don't get, oh, yeah, fair enough, They know my name, they know my number. I don't hide anything there. But some psychics do in this country. It isn't that often, though. There are some, don't be wrong, where the police will contact them. How they get to that stage, I don't know. But in this country, no. I think, to be honest with you, the police, I feel they don't want to. They don't. I can understand if loads of people are ringing up saying, oh, I saw this, I feel this and all this. And I can understand that. But there has to be a time where if someone, sometimes some people are spot on and it helps them, you know what I mean? But they don't. In this country, not always do they help you because you're helping them. But in America, that's a different ballgame. They're more open to it, a lot more open to it.
Yeah, I've got a few cases written down from like America and Australia, and we'll see how we get on with time with that. And I can talk a bit about bits and bobs I've heard as well. I've had a couple of scenarios where I've been driving and say unforeseen, there's a gentleman on the bridge and I've got to the top of the bridge and my guide's gone, as soon as you get through them lights, ring the police now, because it's that critical moment of you've got to do what you've got to do now. So obviously I've got through the lights, pulled over, excuse me, police, 999, gentleman on the bridge. Right, we've got him on camera because they're by a towers, and that person survived. That person didn't do what he was going to do. So sometimes a team can be very strong and very I'd say dominant. Your actions count for that millisecond, and that's a learning curve as well. So you've got to take a day to what your team's telling you as well. I've had a situation where another gentleman's been on a bridge on a motorway and he's actually picked my car out, and I've actually swerved on the motorway, and my friend was in the car behind, so they phoned the police as they've come behind a couple of minutes later, and actually they said, no, Gary, the police had this gentleman on the bridge and a certain scenario had gone on where his head had gone, and he'd obviously been taken off to a mental hospital for the night and all that, and the certain scenario had happened to him which wasn't good. But it's just that millisecond of listening to your team. It's virtually saved two people's lives, and it's just like you just feel so proud of that you can help somebody as well. And it can be startling as well, especially when you're doing 70 miles an hour on a motorway and you go in swerve and you're like, swerve for what? And you look up and there's somebody there picking your car out and they haven't jumped because you've swerved. And the experiences of what we're on the spiritual path, it can be so strong to what you're dealing with, but it's how you deal with it that counts. And like yourself, how do you find your team test you with certain cases as well? How do you think your teams really helped you?
Oh, good question. I do get tested, especially when it comes to, say, children and stuff like that. That I have to take a back seat. I have to reel that in. You know what I mean? That sounds awful, doesn't it? But every life is important, by the way. But children for me, they do. I think they do try and show me gently on that one. If it being, say, an adult example, it's full frontal. Poof, this is it. This is what happens, and they show you the film, and you deal with it. You know what I mean? You have to go and doing something about it. But sometimes, there are some times where sometimes you really do have to work it out, especially with children as well. Like I said, because sometimes they come through and they're not really making sense, which they won't. So I have to ask my team and say, well, help me out a bit. Just what's what? Do you know what I mean? Help me out a bit on that one. And have to be very gentle as well, because you can't just go in there like an adult and say, okay, what's your name? Where do you live? Where are you? You can't do all that. You have to be gently. Yeah, but they do test you. They will. And I think in a way you have to be tested, because I know of people who've been very, how do you put this, egotistical? Is that the right word? And they will pull you on it. They will pull you on it, definitely. They will pull your energy and say, we're not working. We'll stand back and you can work on your own for a bit, and then you'll find it's not going to happen. And then they come back. So, yeah, you have to, I think you have to be tested, because every energy is different. Every person is different. You have to tackle it differently. If we all did the same way, it'd be boring. We're not learning.
And also as well, I always say to people, when people pull me up about somebody else's, how they work, I always say every medium works in different ways. Every medium sees things, hears things, senses things. Everyone works in different ways. Again, I feel like that's part of the learning curve as well, with the sensitive around certain situations. It's not about knocking or pulling anyone in and around the field. It's about learning and understand that everybody works in different ways, even if it's not somebody else's cup of tea or kettle, or they might not like that person or whatever. You've got to let them do what they feel that they're good at. And to me, I always feel that rises to the top, and spiritually you're given more to be a helper and a healer as well. So we've covered about 3 or 4 cases now. And what's your latest one been, or are you drawn? Do you get visions from abroad? Do you see things abroad in Australia or anything like that as well, or do you see spirits coming forward from another country? I always ask my team to talk in a universal language if spirits come from
it helps.
The universe language.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that helps to speak English, because we're not going to understand what they're saying to us, aren't they? Of course they're not. I had one from abroad though, and I didn't, but it was so vague. I didn't know it was Australia at all. I didn't know where it was. But I got the girl's name. It was only last year. I got the girl's name, and she was saying that her boyfriend had killed her, and other stuff too, and how he killed her. And that's all I got was a name, the area then, should I say. And I didn't have a clue where it was. But I thought, okay, I'll look this up. And it was Australia. It was the guy's name, and he got done for it. And he did kill it. And I saw the photos, and I thought, that's the girl I saw. So, yeah, that's the only thing I've had it from abroad, really. I know what I mean. That one was a bit more vague. That I had to work at that one, because I can't be lazy. They think I'm going to be lazy. They're going to make me work. I had to work with that one. But, yeah, sure enough, it was her from Australia. And which I don't know about Australian news, obviously. But, yeah, that's the only one I could think of being foreign. The other one is very controversial, was Madeleine McCann. Very controversial, that was. I did see some things, and to this day, I'm still not sure if, it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? Because as we know, we don't know where she is, in theory. Well,
I would say that that's still an open case, isn't it? So I wouldn't touch on that, because obviously at the present moment in situations, there's a lot of subjects and topics that's very sensitive, isn't it? And obviously friends and family members out there as well. So what you experienced over the last year or two, or the last 2 or 3 years, or is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to tell us about?
Well, I've done that spirit. Well, the spirit, of course. I've had this house is 100 years old. This isn't to do with murder cases, by the way, but it's to do with spirit. What it is a lot of people come here and they don't believe in spirit. And I brought this girl here to the house once, and I said, I'll show her psychometry, because I do psychometry too. I can pick things up and I see the film and about the person who's living and passed on. And I could see her being distracted in this room. She kept doing this to me in this room. And I said, I just saw a little girl and she had this little apron on. And I said, yeah, that's the Victorian girl, because it's to do with the land. Well, anyway, so I got a bit of all this and I got used to people being in this house, because I had to send one person over because it was causing some problems. But last year, I don't know about you, but have you ever gone into a room really quick or somewhere really quick and you meet someone in front of you, smack in front of you, and they're solid, and you're like, whoa, I wasn't ready for that. That's what it's like in this house. You're just not ready. Yeah. And I came from the shower like you do in the morning, and I went round the corner to my bedroom very quickly. It was pretty cold. It was winter. And I went straight to my bedroom, and all of a sudden, my bedroom wasn't my bedroom anymore. It was a totally different bedroom. The furniture wasn't mine. It was everything was changed, literally changed. And then when I looked up, I saw this woman who I've been seeing over the years in the house, quite bigger than me anyway. And she was right in my bedroom, and she looked at me and she acknowledged me. She acknowledged me, and she turned around and looked at me as if to say, who the hell are you? And I thought, likewise, who are you? You know, and the whole bedroom had changed. And I saw the walls, the windowsills and that in the windows were like a dark brown colour, like old wood. And I thought, my bedroom's old? Really old? This is not my bedroom. And who is she? So anyway, we looked at each other for about, could be 10 seconds. And then she disappeared. And then slowly my whole bedroom just changed back to this century. So anyway, I thought that's a bit random, you know, very random. It's obviously a time slip, but I went into it. And a while later, I went on the internet and looked at the local history association sort of thing, and they have old photos. And there was one of my house when it first got built in 1910, 1915. And all the new tenants were standing in front of the house. And there's like loads of them. There's 2 rows put together. And all of a sudden, she was on the photo, the big lady with the apron on. She was standing there, bold as brass. And it was, I think it was like 1918 or something like that when it was filmed, with the old hat and all this. And then I looked across at my house, and it's black and white, and the old wooden frames are on my window, totally old wooden frames. So when I went in, it was a time slip, and she's still here from time to time because you see her. So yeah, I have a lot of people in this house, but I'm not bothered by that. They don't pay rent. It's fine.
Okay. I've just been intrigued, you know, and thanks for everybody that's in the comment section. I haven't put any questions up because I've been that intrigued with you, Kaz, as well, you know. So, yeah, I know. And Claire's asking a question there as well. I haven't been ignoring you folks. I've been really intrigued, you know what I mean? What techniques would you use for protection around yourself and types of communicate? Given what type of communications you're given from like a darker scenarios and all that, how would you deal with that?
Right. What I tend to do, and I feel it when I do house clearances, and I pick up straight away as I get to the gate. I feel it. I have to put myself, what I would term is in like a bubble or a ball of white light. I have to literally surround myself in this, and it's almost like you're deflecting back anything coming towards you in normal circumstances, if you live with a negative person or negative situations. But with those, I have to protect myself. I have spirit guides, or what I call protection guides. And this one of them is built like a brick house. I've seen him. People have seen him. When I sat circle many years ago, they used to see him and they go, good God. And I know for a fact he's a big lad because other people have seen him as well. And he's with me too. So you call on your protection guides. You ask for protection from the highest, and you put yourself in this. Imagine, it's all about imagination. There's a white ball of white light, and it's protecting you from anything negative. It cannot affect you whatsoever. You ask it to deflect from you also, so it doesn't go near you either. That's what I do. You really have to be on your game. If it's a very dark scenarios, it's a very dark energy, you really have to be on your game. I cleared a house once, not far from here, and it was absolutely not of this earth. It really wasn't. And the family, I said to the family, please don't come upstairs, which is where it was. Please don't come upstairs, stay downstairs. If you hear anything, it doesn't matter, stay down there. I was literally from here to there to it. It was in my face. It was nasty. And the daughter heard me. She heard the growl. It was growling. It was nasty. It wasn't from this earth. Yeah. She runs up the stairs. I said, "Mom," I did swear. I'll be hand up. I did swear. And I said, "Get down them stairs now." But because I went to her, I was totally shrunk. Straight on me was like nothing. And I swore blind again, never would. If someone does that to me again, I won't have it. I won't have it. So what the point of me saying that to Claire was, doesn't matter what situation you're in, or if you're distracted, hopefully you don't come across bad stuff like that was doing. Always protect yourself. No matter what distraction you get, straight away, protect yourself. Don't be open to some people, or don't be open to certain things anyway. And that was distraction. And straight away, it just went for me, and that was it. And I was ill for weeks after that, absolutely ill.
I always find with your aura, when it's been attacked, that bombarded basically by spirit, that can happen sometimes. If we go to a castle, a gatekeeper can just get in your face and you have to explain what you're about. When you said there that you go in with protection, if I was going to do a house clearance, I would safely say to the people, children out, and then I'll come round. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I need to get to the bottom of it, but need the children elsewhere. You know what I mean? So everything is a lot of sensitivity around what we do as well. What else would you like to cover as well? Please tell me more. I'm just intrigued.
Oh God, what do you want to know?
What else have you got written down, Kaz? What else have you written down today that we've not touched on?
Oh, I've been boring, have I? Let's have a look.
No, God, no. I just. It's nice. It's nice to have a topic and a subject that we can talk about and discuss. You know.
I will talk about spirits in this case. Sometimes the reason why they come forward to us. They come forward to us sometimes between the hours of 2 and 4, obviously, like similar to you, and they do come in crisis sometimes. If something's wrong with you, or something's going off, and they come close. And I've had that a few times here, where something's going to happen. I've saw my partner's grandparents. I've never met them in my life, living, and something was happening, and they came forward. Told us in a Yorkshire accent it would be all right, which I didn't understand what he said. And then the next day, sure enough, it was. The other thing I could tell you, which is a bit weird, is I astral travel. And I've been doing that since 8 years old, okay? So sometimes as an adult, I do it more, obviously. But when I was a child, I actually astral traveled. I shared a bedroom with my sister. And she also thought I was a bit loony anyway, because I was the weird kid. And I left my body and I went through the house, through the window. This sounds mad, but I went through the window and I ended up a few roads away and I went into my friend's house. Literally went into her house as energy. I landed on the landing and I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing in here? You know, I was 8 years old. And all of a sudden, her mum came out of her bedroom because I wasn't allowed. It was a posh house. I wasn't allowed upstairs, you know what I mean? You can only play in the garden and that's your lot, you know? So her mum came out the bedroom. She walked across the landing in this 70s nightwear, you know, like you do. Went the loo. And luckily, I was on the landing. I wasn't anywhere near the toilet. I'm not that way inclined. And she come out and she walked back to her bedroom. And I thought, she can't see me. I couldn't get over the fact that she couldn't. I was 8, but I couldn't get over the fact that she couldn't see me. I thought she was going to tell me off to say, what you're doing in my house. She didn't even bloody see me. So anyway, she went to the bedroom. I zoomed my way back to my bedroom and landed hard on my bed and went with a start. And because you see, before that happened, I saw my sister and she was fast asleep. And I was on the ceiling then. So no, the next day I went to school, junior school, like you do. And I was telling my friend Dawn, I can say Dawn. I said to my friend Dawn, I said, I went to your house last night and I saw your mum's nightie and she wore this, and this, and described it to her. Well, nothing was said until I got home. And then Dawn's mum rang my mum up and basically bollocked her and said, your daughter is weird. she's not coming to our house ever again. Dawn obviously clearly told her mum what I'd said. And she said, and also, how the hell did she know what nightie I was wearing? So I never went to her house again after that. I wasn't allowed.
So that's what we were touching on earlier on, where people get labelled as weird and stuff like that from astral projecting and all that as well. Do you find as a spiritual person, as a healer as well, do you find that the near-death experience heightened all that?
Yes, very much so. Yeah, I mean, I saw spirit when I was little. I even astral travelled at 8, but the near-death, I was 14, and that was a ball game and change. That was. I mean, I saw my life review, so I'm not frightened. And when I came back with more things than I had before. I had a suitcase full, and I was doing healing. My hands were different. I knew things about people I shouldn't know. You know, it really freaked my parents out a little bit. But then, yeah, I think that really opened up a lot of stuff for me. That did. The clairaudience, clairvoyance, mediumship, premonition. There's a lot of things came with that, you know. But you appreciate life because of that. You know what I mean? You don't fear death. You know, don't be wrong. I don't want to pop my clogs now. But you don't fear death either, though. Once you've been, you don't fear it. You know what's coming. You know what it's about. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
And also as well, Kaz, excuse me, how can you explain to the viewers as well? I know we touch on amazing topics and subjects, that you can have 2 time slips at once as well, which is out of body experiences, but you're in 2 places at once, aren't you?
I did a bilocation once. I'm not sure if that's what you mean, but in that respect, but I had a bilocation once. I was in Tenerife about 5 years ago. And I was sunbathing, and then I must have fell asleep on my sunbed because it was roasting hot. My partner went in the swimming pool, which wasn't too far from the sunbed. So I had all the gubbins, you know, the crown jewels and all that, you know what I mean, your wallet and that. I had it all with me on my sunbed, and I fell asleep. And anyway, he was in the swimming pool, and he looked up, and he literally saw me. He was as close as anything to me. He saw me walk past him to the right, and it was me. And he went, Christ, I've got to get to the sunbed. She's left all the stuff behind. So as he got at the swimming pool and looked to the left, I was still on the sunbed. I was in 2 places at once. And people saw me literally on the bed and over there at the same time. And that's because I was doing walkabout. I don't know why, but I was. So, yeah, you can be in 2 places at once, definitely. And time slips is the same as well. But that lady, you know, time slips. Yeah, you got... The time slipping where I lived in Westheath in Birmingham, that was weird because the one side of the road was 1800s easily. It was like a farm, and it wasn't there. There was houses there. There was a bus stop there. No more. There was a Wardian man standing under a lamp, like a gas light. I was like, where's the bus stop gone? You know, but the other side of the road, it was like, you know, the 1980s. So it was an area where there's 2 parts to the time slip. You got the 1800s, and it was a farm, and then you got your normal house and a road and the other, and everything went quiet, totally quiet. There was no traffic, nothing. Everything just went silently dead. So yeah, you can have a time slip where you're in 2 places. I think a guy in Liverpool did, didn't he? Years ago. I swear there was a guy. Yeah.
I was due to visit a time slip in April, last April, and then obviously this all come about, didn't it, with the current situation with the C19, and I am due there, but again I see time periods of what it was back like in 100 years ago, and people have experienced the time slips there as well, of shooting back in time and all that, so I'm drawn to that very, very much so. Another question I've got is, have you had certain tough cases where you've been helping the police, or and if that person or a murderer classed as, if they're on the other side, have you had situations where they've passed over as well, the murderer, or anything like that as well? Have you had situations like the person that they've hurt or injured or killed, have they been in spirit?
Yes, very much so. That is hard, because the only person, apart from the person who's been murdered, the only person who can stand up for that and tell you where they are and what they've done is them, and they're in spirit world, and they're not always inclined to tell you, not always inclined. But yeah, I've had that where it's a negative energies come forward, and I'm like, oh my Christ, what you've done, you know what I mean? But yeah, I've only had that once though, and that was very hard because the person was trying to tell me the stuff, but the other person, even though they're not on the same plane, if you know what I mean by that, he kept coming forward, but it was awful because it was like treacle. He wasn't coming forward. Like he wasn't coming forward when he was living. He wasn't going to come forward when he passed over either. That's the only time I've had that. It's very hard. It's very hard to get the information that way, definitely, because they have nothing to lose. They're not here anymore. They can't be punished, so to speak, but they're not going to tell you either. You know what I mean? Have you had that?
Yeah, I've had certain scenarios of where I've had to go to a house clearance, and a church had been redeveloped into 4 flats, and basically another medium friend of mine was spiritually getting raped by spirit, and we had to basically take the child within, even though she was swollen with like a phantom pregnancy. I know it sounds bizarre and unreal. And then after we actually cleared the house, it was quite a famous person that was involved with the Hellfire Club that would have went on like 100 years ago on the church ground and the church land as well. So it was very unbalanced. So there was a lot of white there, but there was a lot of dark trying to overpower the white light as well. So we've had certain cases, scenario and situations, and to cross a person over that got drawn into something they didn't want to be involved with, they came to us on the knees to be crossed over. And to see somebody that's hid behind certain tales and topics and subjects that they were famous for, to find the actual truth out about somebody like 100 years later, and they're coming to you on their hands and knees spiritually to be crossed to their light, and they don't want to be in the energy that they're in and around now that they were involved with behind the scenes.
Yeah,
it can take a lot of understanding as well to go, okay, I'm here to help everybody. I'm here to help the person that's been spiritually affected. I'm here to help the person that needs resolve from 100 years ago, that they feel that their remorse needs to be heard as well. So again, it's that non-judgmental side of things as well. It's not about me. Again, as you said, it's like, but you can get that situation where it's bang, deal with that, deal with that, deal with that, and deal with that. Don't put your thoughts into it. Just process it and sort out what you've got to do in stages as well. So sometimes you've got to do it in stages. Our lovely Jennifer's tuning in from Canada. What do you think about soul retrieval from a trauma? Any soul retrieval from traumas? Anybody in spirit that's been affected, that they're still dealing with spiritually the trauma of what they've gone through when they've been on this plane? I think she means possibly.
Are they, as in they're still here, or they've gone over? Like
somebody that's been involved with a murder, somebody that's been actually murdered, and possibly in the trauma that they've dealt with, and they might be in between the two realms, or they might not know where they are. Like sometimes we've had a situation where a person's been killed in a car crash instantly. They still think they're on this plane. Do you know, because they haven't worked out of where they're going from sometimes. But again, we get the ailments, we get the, I've had it where I've been doing platform work and I've been impaled by a sheet of metal that's just gone right through them. And it's like, okay, I'll work with you in 5 minutes. So again, some type of spirits can suffer a lot of trauma as well in between that shift, I feel, between the two planes.
Yeah, I mean, we get the physicals, and that's when you know what they went with or what they had. The time I had that was with, well, there's a few people in fact, but the one that sticks in my mind was I had to clear a friend of mine's flat. She was having people in the flat, if you know what I mean, and they wouldn't move on. And I walked in, and it was a young lad, and he was solid, and he must have been from the 40s, 1940s onwards. And he was what he called a vagrant in them days, but he really didn't have much money. But what happened is he was crossing the road in whatever era it was probably the 40s. And a car hit him, hit and run. It took a while to die, and he didn't realise he was dead. He actually didn't realise he passed. Excuse me. So he was quite aggressive in her flat. He was literally banging on the wall, and not a happy man at all. He really thought he was alive, but he also knew something isn't right, you know what I mean? And he's very frustrated, very frightened. And that's the bit that got me. He was very frightened, and he wouldn't accept the fact that he had died in this place, because it was a hospital. It was a hospital originally. He made it. Someone picked him up and took him to the hospital, but he died in the hospital, and that's her bedroom, that part of the ward was. So I had to explain to him, and it was a bit like counselling. I had to explain to him that the accident happened. It shouldn't have happened, but it did. And I'm afraid, darling, that you need to move on. You can't stay here anymore, you know? And he really was confused. He said, no, I'm not dead. And as you know about the static, when they come so close to your aura, it's like really staticky. And I goes, look, please back off, you know? But he was really upset. And at the end, it was just a case of like you would with a normal person, a normal living person. You give them comfort and you say, listen, love, you need to go. And I did cross him over. I actually did a service and I crossed him over. I asked for him. I said, did you not see the white light? And he said to me, I did, but I was frightened. This is like years ago. So he didn't go. So he'd just been walking around and staying in this area, the area where it was. Excuse me. So then at the end, I did cross him over at the service. I said, you'll see the white light. You need to walk towards it, love. Everything's fine. Your loved ones are waiting for you. And it's encouragement for them to go because they, like with anyone who hasn't died before, when they do go, they're frightened because they don't know what to expect. And he was in that position. But I explained to him, it's fine. I've been there myself. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, as well, Kaz, I mean, I'm a medium, obviously, but I always give what I'm given, basically. As you started talking there, we do get affected by certain links and connections as well. My team said to me to tell you within a couple of days, 2 days. So I do feel there's something up and around that's due to come around and about that possibly you might pick up on a couple of days to carry on with the work you do around the police and all that. So I don't know what it's like. They call that as well leaky mediumship because they won't give you the full thingy because it hasn't unveiled yet. So I do feel it's something coming around within 2 days as well. But again, if that links in, it's fine. If it doesn't, that's fine as well. There's no right way or wrong way. It's not positive. It's not negative. It's just I've written down a couple of days and possibly hopefully you're writing something else down as well. So it's certainly been an interesting chat as well. Jennifer says we're both coughing as we were talking about a young boy or possibly picking up on what she was talking about behind her question originally as well with the trauma.
Yes.
Spirits turn the TV channel over on the telly. This was happening at her son's tonight when she went, our lovely Shelley. The TV remote was on the table and she was with her grandson, obviously, but it wasn't. Nobody turning the telly over as well. Do you experience stuff like that as well?
Yes, very much so. In this house, definitely. In fact, something happened a couple of nights ago. I've had lights flashing, the TV being turned over. In fact, funnily enough, yesterday morning, my TV came on. I didn't touch the clickers, remote, whatever, and I didn't even touch them. And it was also, the TV was off. And the TV in the bedroom came on with a program, and it was a program which I wonder what it was. I know what it was. This is even weirder. I've been having, like, my mattress needs changing. It's simple. It gives me backache, you know. So I thought nothing of it. TV come on. It was not even, it's plugged in, but it's not on. It went dink. And this advert come on for Emma mattresses. I'm like, mattresses? Yeah, okay, I need a new mattress. And then it went off again. This was yesterday morning. So that's the nearest time I've had it. So they do tell you in weird ways.
Certain things to deal with as well. I mean, I used to watch certain programs on the telly years ago, paranormal programs, and before the medium would talk, I'd be getting told, oh, that building and that room's involves a fire, or that person's jumped out the window. And people find it hard that you can link in with just watching a certain situation or a building, but I find the building comes alive or the land comes alive and involves the onion layers come and separate and then just give you more information as well. Sometimes I can work from the 1600s upwards on the oldest energies on the land. How do you find yourself if you're just doing a normal thing? And do you go back to certain centuries or decades? Do you find yourself in certain periods that seem to be stronger, say 1980s or 1920s? Is there a certain period or an era that seems to flow at you more? I think a lot at the moment is the 1900s for me as well.
I think the one for me is the 1600s 17th century, 1600s. Yeah, 1600s for me. I keep on going back to that. Like, I do feel strongly that it's like a past life. So that's another subject. I used to do trance mediumship, but I did transfiguration. And one time I was doing it in a mirror in front of about 10 people, and my face totally changed because the man walked in front of my face, and I have come in before though. And I was a cavalier, and this sounds really embarrassing for me because I didn't know anything about the Civil War from the 1600s. I have no idea about history on that. So I moved up here to Yorkshire 20 years ago, not knowing any of this. And my face changed. I had a cavalier plume hat. And they said, oh my, because they're Yorkshire people. They went, oh my God, she's a cavalier. And I was like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't have a clue what was going on. But I do keep getting things about the 1600s, definitely. I feel strongly that I was in the, oh God, which one was it? Is it Marston Moor, is it? I think it's Marston Moor battle. I feel strongly about that. And I keep on getting the year 1643 all the time. And the one time me and Steve were going for a drive around East Yorkshire, just one of them things. And we got so far, and I just thought, I've got to get out the car. It's just a mad one. I've got to get out the car, stop the car. I was proper frantic. And he's like, oh God, what's going on? So I shot out the car, and luckily it wasn't a motorway. I shot out the car and I ran across the road. I didn't have a clue where I was going, not a clue. But I felt pulled by it in here. My heart was racing, not because I was running. And I ran across, and I was just looking at this field. I was like, well, why am I looking at this field for? And he came across thinking something was wrong with me. And I said, I was here. I was in this field. I'm telling you, I was a cavalier in the battle. So we walked further up the road, and sure enough, there is not a National Trust, but there's an actual sign saying it was the Battle of Marston Moor was on that field. And I tell you now, mate, I couldn't get my breath, and that's saying something. I couldn't stop talking after that. You know, I was shocked because I felt so strong to be pulled over there. And I do believe in that. Yeah, you can get the pull of different eras. Either you've lived them, and I think a lot of it could be that. In my case, it was. Or I don't know, it's just get it, you know, you just get these eras. But 1600 to me, definitely. Big definite on that.
So, as again, we've touched on loads of topics. We've been going for about an hour and 15 minutes. Are you all right for time, Kaz? Or anything else you want to tell us? Jennifer's asked, you see auras, don't you? Do you see anything around a blue orb or ever help you cross over with crossing over? Do you see certain lights when you cross over and help spirits? Which way do you work? Jennifer's asking basically, if you help spirits cross over.
Yeah, I have. I always work with, I do the Lord's Prayer, of course. I ask for Archangel Michael to come down as well. He helps me a lot. And then I ask his guides to come along, the person's guides to come along as well for comfort. And then they walk into the light. And when they do, you actually sometimes see like flashes. I can't explain it. It's like little weird flashes. Sometimes you see that. Does that make sense? And then they're starting to go, and these flashes are still going, and then it dims, and then all of a sudden it just fades, and that's it. They've gone. You know, sounds like a Disney film, but it's not. But
excellent.
But that's how I get it. Anyway, that's how I get it.
And again, we all do work in different ways, and I always find that some mediums might not explain the way that they work as well. I do respect that as well. Didn't mean to put you on the spot there as well. You do everything from holistic and massages as well, reflexology, and you do Reiki as well. And tell us more about your book.
Oh my God, this baby! That's it. That's the baby. It's on Amazon since last March. It's on Facebook as well, obviously. But what it's about my life from children to a few years ago. But it's a bit gritty in places, though. It's trying to show people things in this life where you can have help from the other side sometimes, and they're either side of you. So you got the human life, and then you got the spiritual world life. That's why it's in two worlds, definitely. It is gritty. I've got to be honest with certain things that's happened in my life, in my childhood especially. and certain things about violence and abuse. But the reason why I put it out there, it was a twofold thing. It was to do with spirit coming in at the time when something happened and they appeared in front of me. But also I was hoping that it would help other people on the human side of it to say you can get through this. You know what I mean? You can get through child abuse and other stuff as well. But yeah, it is about my life in a nutshell with all the weird things that's happened.
I have put it on there. I haven't put it as a link, but it is Living in Two Worlds. It's called, isn't it, on Amazon as well. Are you looking at doing any more podcasts or paranormal subjects or anything like that? And
I would like to. Yeah, I'd like to do some podcasts or talks or something. I need to obviously talk more probably, but yes, definitely want to do things like that. I want to teach people as well. All I keep getting told over the years from other people as well is you've got to teach. And that's what I think we're at anyway, all of us, Gary, is we need to teach others how to work this way, not work our way, work with spirit, work with energy.
I always find, Kaz, that people say, can you teach me Reiki? Can you learn me Reiki? Can you teach me? And I'm like, I haven't got 12 months to do a set program because I'm that busy doing with everything else, you know what I mean? So as and when the time of a retire, I think that'll be the time to do training more Reiki and all that as well. You do stuff as well about the Survival Trust, paranormal research in London. Do you want to give us a bit more on that?
Well, the SPR is the Society of Paranormal Research. It's been going for 100 odd years. And I think Charles Dickens was part of it, and Conan Doyle was as well. But I've been to London a few times to do that, and I go down for the near-death studies as well, which is this country's version anyway, an American one. But the Survival Trust is part like a shooting of the SPR. And the Survival Trust are a bit more open-minded, should I say. Where I go down from time to time. I do readings. I've done other stuff, and we talk about survival after death. Definitely, we talk about clairvoyance. We talk about other stuff too. But it's a very, very good group. We've got our own little website there, but it's on the screen. But they're very good. They really are. They're very open. The SPR, what can I say? The SPR are very scientific. Fair enough. And, you know, they tend to go on more on the side of they don't really believe it. And I struggled with that. So when the Survival Trust turned up and was part of it, I thought, this is what I'm meant to be. We're trying to teach people or explain to people, you know, the way of the world in this respect as much as we can and get people involved also. It's not just about us. It's about them too. And if they can put things on, say what happened to them, brilliant. Because people always relate to stuff. You know what I mean? So I do that as well, Survival Trust. And I'm part of the INDS in America. I don't go over there. I go on the website with it. And that's near death as well. Near death experience.
That was my next question. So that's the International Association of Near Death Studies in the UK and USA, isn't it?
Yes. I'm part of those as well. Yeah, busy girly.
Right. Right. It's been a fantastic hour and 20 minutes, and I can talk to you all night. No, I'm well happy as well. Is there anything else that we haven't covered?
I can't think of anything. There's loads, but I think we've done all right, and you've been brilliant to me. Thank you very much. You've looked after me. Thank you.
I try my best as well. Just to let people know, my laptop is playing up with the comments as well, so I think the process is running a bit slow. I think it's just taking its time to put people's comments over usually get it underneath on the on screen as well. So that's my fault. I think I need a new laptop as well. So again, Kaz,
Shelley's comments. Thank you, Shelley. I've just read your comment. Bless you.
It's been an absolute pleasure as well, and thank you for touching a lot of sensitivity around what we've discussed around tonight. And again, we do appreciate everyone's time, topic, and information that they give us as well. And we always try and do it in a professional way, which I always feel is the best, you know what I mean? So we look at it at both sides. We wouldn't like to be on a receiving end as what people experience as well. But obviously as mediums, we receive things in different ways, don't we? I am going to sign off there. I'm just going to say, stay in the chat room for us, and we'll end the broadcast. And thanks for everyone for tuning in. And
Thank you,
please
everyone.
keep on checking. Look forward to having you back again someday soon. And again, if you've missed any of the show, folks, please go back to the beginning. You'll be amazed. It will be on YouTube again. So stay with me, Kaz, and we'll have a little catch up before we finish. And I'm going to sign off there.
Night.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for that. Thank you for coming along.
Oh.
Just trying to end the broadcast.